Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Q&A. We will start with an outside question and then take some local ones, as usual. Whenever I ask clients if now we can talk about higher fees, it's not the right time. Oh, yeah. How do I counter that? Technically, you can't solve that, but you can prevent it from happening again, which is basically the same. If you ask your client for a higher fee, they will normally say no, unless they think that losing you is a very bad thing for them. Now, don't get me wrong, it's usually a bad idea to lose an expert anyway, but not every client can see that right away. You have to work on it. Once you ask them, you are turning all of the initiative to them, like you're an employee or something, and the ball is in their court. You're out of moves. That's it. Once you ask them, they will say no, time and again. Because I mean, probably you would too if you were in their place. What you can do is to not ask, but tell them that you're raising your price and anticipate their threat of going away. This is the old rhetoric technique of countering a complaint before it was uttered out loud. So you know what they're going to say, and you counter it before they say it. So you can say, "Listen, Mr. Client, we should talk about getting you a replacement for me, as I'm raising my fees, and I don't think you will be willing to pay the new fees, right?" Only by clearly showing that you are not dependent on their income can you pull them out of a feeling of superiority and get them to take you seriously. Then you might get, I mean, it definitely will feel scary, but then you might get the reaction that you want, which is, well, how do you know I'm not going to be able to pay that, or not going to pay that? Just tell me the price, and then you tell them the price, and maybe they say, well, that's not that bad, right? But if you ask for permission, there's not going to be a permission to raise your price, usually, unless you're really underpaid anyway. The usual counter question to this is, how do I negotiate that if I cannot afford to fire a bad client? Now, that is a prerequisite, of course. You can't not mean it, right? You would be bluffing if you were not ready to lose them at that point. Unfortunately, the answer is the same as if would be if you were asking, how do I negotiate with somebody pointing a gun at me? You don't. I mean, Hollywood stunts aside, it's just not a good idea to negotiate in such a situation. You take what you need to take, do a deal that you can get because you have to pay rent or something. But try to draw the line at spending, 100% of your available time on those kinds of gun to my head diplomacy kind of things. So working for that client or those kinds of clients really shouldn't cover more than 80% of your available time. I'm not saying your work time, maybe just your some part of your free time you don't spend overworking at insulting your low pay. At least 20% of your work time would be ideal, and that it stays free, so that you can use it to work with other clients, maybe which you then don't need so badly. So you may be able to leverage that time to get enough money to get out of the gunpoint situation, right? It's okay if losing the client will hurt significantly financially, but will not ruin you. That's still a situation where it's possible to negotiate. So it can hurt, just not get you on the street right away, or not being able to pay some significant medical bill or something very deathly serious like that. Once you earn enough on the side to get out of complete and total dependence, you will have gained some chance of negotiation. And they will have gained firsthand insight into the value that you provide. So the silver lining is you can't negotiate, but you working for them, even for the something they'll pay, tells them something about your value, which will be very useful and give you the edge over competition when the time comes for negotiation finally. But it will. It always does. Later, if you know what you're saving up for, which is being able to not negotiate like somebody's holding you a gun. You can't negotiate with a gun to your head, but you can use as much time as you can muster to get out of that situation. That's the only advice I can give you. So let's do it the local question, this time from chat. Is it true that the clients will respect my advice more if they pay me more? Yes, absolutely. Especially with expert work, the client will respect you more if they pay you more, which means that they are more likely to implement your advice, which in turn means that they have a great chance of success because they're actually using what you gave them, right? And if they succeed in their goals, there's a higher chance that they will be happy with your work and give you a glowing recommendation or testimonial. So charging more not only gives you more money, but also makes your work more meaningful to the client. So aside from the objective part, there's a certain thought that forms in your client's head, like, I paid a lot for this expert. I'm not stupid, so it must have been a really good idea to do what he or she said. Because when people feel that they have given a bargain, we all have this instinct of things being too good to be true. So if I expected to pay 2,000 and it turns out that due to price competition, I only have to pay 700, I'm going to actually be wary about what I actually got. So I'll pay more attention to it. I'll be more critical of it, higher sense of needing to check everything, kick the tires, ask pointed questions. I'm going to have to worry about it more, right? This is one of the big differences between interchangeable services and non-interchangeable services. What I mean by interchangeable, well, service work covers a lot of ground. So service work is selling ice cream or waiting tables or washing cars or being a cashier, but it also includes all the expert service work, right? Like dentist services or psychologist services or coaches, coding, design, architecture, accountants, a huge variety of things. And not all of these can be compared in the same way. So there's absolutely good cashiers and bad cashiers, but they're good and bad in a way like people are tall or short. So there are tall people, definitely, and short people, but nobody is 20 times as tall as anybody else. You have a range of like 50% up or down. In the interchangeable, let's say, repetitive services like cashiers, you can basically switch to people, any two cashiers. And most clients won't notice, especially if they're not completely local, and mostly nothing will change. Now try to imagine anybody in this world that can be switched for you so that none of your clients will actually notice, or like 90% of your clients wouldn't even notice. Is that possible? Usually the answer is no, not with expert work. So this is what I mean by non-interchangeable, right? Because the non-interchangeable expert service work, when you stack people like that, it's not like stacking people by height. It's like stacking people by income, because the best brain surgeon in the world is not just 50% better than the average one, and that rings true for developers, designers, lawyers, architects, all the expert categories that I mentioned and I didn't mention. It's the same with personal coaches. It's the same with all expert work. They stack completely differently. And once you realize that different things matter, getting a bargain at the car wash is a fairly good thing, right? Oh, I know a cheap car wash. Well, I can give them a try. I can go there, I can see the finished cars and say, well, oh, okay, I can see why they're cheaper now. Or you say, oh, okay, this is a bargain. But nobody says you really need a dentist. I know a really cheap one. Would you like to try it? And this is a big difference, right? It's different with experts, is what I'm saying. And with experts, yes, the more they pay you, the more they respect you, the higher the chance that they will actually implement what you tell them, and the higher the chance that they're going to be satisfied with it. You can absolutely take this advice and go too far, but usually people do the opposite. They think that by going in with pricing competition, they will achieve something. And I mean, they will, just nothing positive, because they competing like they are interchangeable, and they're not. Thank you all for your great questions and your chat participation. I will see you all in a week. Bye.
Everything changes.